The Zelthari hunting party had tracked the crashed human vessel for 3 solar cycles across the crimson wastes of Kepler 442b. Their thermal scanners had detected 2 life signatures. Inside the wreckage, a fully grown human and something smaller. The adults would fetch a decent price at the consortium slave markets, but juveniles were worth triple. Rare, malleable, profitable. Commander Thexaval raised his plasma rifle as his squad of 8 surrounded the twisted metal hull. Through the gaping hole in the ship's side, he could see the adult human, a female, her chest rising and falling in shallow, labored breaths. Unconscious, perhaps dying. Blood matted her dark hair and pooled beneath her head, but it was the other signature that drew his attention. A small human child, no more than 5 solar cycles old by his estimation, sat cross-legged beside the woman. The juvenile's face was streaked with tears and dust, large brown eyes watching the approaching Zelthari with primal fear, and between the child and the alien stood the second creature. Thexval's translator struggled with the classification. His datapad finally flickered. Mellivora capensis. Common designation honey badger. Threat level calculating. The creature was small, barely reaching the child's waist, with a distinctive white stripe running along its black and gray body. It stood on 4 legs, its back arched, its teeth bared in a silent snarl that revealed impressive fangs. Small dark eyes tracked every movement of the Zelthari soldiers, with an intensity that made Thexaval's scales ripple with unease. "It's just a pet," Sergeant Krell hissed, his mandibles clicking with amusement. A small earth creature, probably domesticated. Thexaval wasn't so sure. His datapad was still calculating. That never happened. The Zelthari database contained threat assessments for millions of species across thousands of worlds, compiled over centuries of conquest and trade. Nothing took this long to analyze. "Spread out," Thexaval commanded. "Flank them. Stun the adult, cage the juvenile. Kill the animal if it interferes." His soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, forming a semicircle around the wreckage. The honey badger's head swiveled, tracking each soldier's position. It didn't retreat. Didn't flinch. It simply stood there, a living barrier between the child and death. Krell raised his stun baton and took a step forward. The honey badger moved. It was a blur of fur and fury, covering the 3 meters between them in less than a second. Krell barely had time to scream before the creature's jaws clamped onto his arm with the force of a hydraulic press. The distinctive crack of breaking chitin echoed across the wasteland. Krell thrashed, trying to shake the animal loose, but the honey badger held on, its body whipping violently as it shredded through armor and flesh with equal ease. When Krell finally threw the creature off, his arm hung useless, green blood spurting from the mangled limb. The honey badger hit the ground, rolled, and was back on its feet in an instant. Its white muzzle was now stained green. It returned to its position in front of the child, ready.
"Fire!" Thexval shouted.
Plasma bolts lit up the dim interior of the wreckage. The honey badger dodged with impossible agility, its compact body weaving between lethal shots as if it could predict where each bolt would strike. One shot grazed its flank, burning fur and flesh, but the creature didn't slow. Instead, it charged again. 2 more soldiers went down in quick succession. The first lost his leg below the knee, the honey badger's claws raking through the joint with surgical precision. The second made the mistake of trying to grab the creature with his bare hands. The honey badger twisted in his grip and latched onto his throat, its teeth finding the soft membrane between armor plates. Thexval's datapad finally chimed. He glanced at the screen, his blood running cold. Threat level: extreme. Mellivora capensis possesses disproportionate aggression relative to size, capable of fighting predators 10x its mass, thick skin resistant to bites, stings, and projectiles, pain tolerance maximum, fear response none detected. Recommendation: avoid engagement, fall back, Thexval ordered, but his soldiers were already retreating, dragging their wounded with them. The honey badger didn't pursue. It returned to the child, who had wrapped small arms around the creature's neck, pressing a tear-stained face into its fur. The animal stood rigid, watchful as the Zelthari withdrew to a safe distance. Hours passed. The twin suns began their descent, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Thexaval watched through his scope as the human woman finally stirred, groaning as consciousness returned. The child rushed to her side, and even from this distance Thexval could hear the relief in the juvenile's voice. The honey badger remained on guard, its gaze never leaving the Zelthari position. As night fell, Thexval made his decision. He signaled the retreat. There would be other prizes, other opportunities. His squad had already lost 3 soldiers, dead or critically wounded, to a creature that weighed less than 15 kilograms. As they packed their equipment, Sergeant Krell, his arm hastily bandaged, approached. "Commander, we can't just leave them." The bounty isn't worth your life," Thexval interrupted. He gestured toward the wreckage, where the small silhouette of the honey badger still stood watch. "Humans don't just bond with creatures for companionship, Sergeant. They bond with weapons. That thing isn't a pet. It's a guardian. A soldier." Krell followed his gaze, mandibles twitching nervously. "But it's so small." Thexval pulled up the final entry on his datapad and showed it to his sergeant. It was a note from a Terran xenobiologist, appended to the honey badger's file. "The honey badger is nature's reminder that size means nothing in the face of absolute determination. It doesn't fight because it's strong. It fights because it simply doesn't care about the odds. In that way, it's the most human animal on Earth." As the Zelthari disappeared into the night, the honey badger finally relaxed its stance. It turned to the child who was helping the injured woman sit up, and for the first time since the confrontation began, the creature's aggressive posture softened. It allowed the child to stroke its head, a low rumbling sound emanating from its chest. The woman looked at the creature with profound gratitude, her voice barely a whisper. "Good boy, Rattel, good boy." The honey badger's eyes remained fixed on the darkness beyond, ever vigilant, ever ready. Because that's what guardians do.